go.
Welcome to the PRCA Fuse podcast for the stories behind great PR and marketing people with a passion for communications, hosted by myself, Farzana Baduel, speaking every fortnight to trailblazers in and around our industry. Our special guest today is Viroslava Novosylna. Welcome, Viroslava.
Hi, thank you a lot for having me today. I'm really happy to share this podcast with you.
Now, Viroslava, I'm just going to let our audience in terms of your incredible career. Now, Viroslava is the CEO and founder of PR agency Slova Tech PR, the co-founder of the international non-profit community of women in tech, WTech. Also, she's the board member here at the PRCA, a VC PR partner at TA Ventures, and Ukrainian PR Army co-founder. Textile Sustainability Paris Mentor, and Golden winner in the category Best Leader in PR of the Davos Communications Awards. At the beginning of her journey, Viroslava created Slova Tech PR, a Ukrainian boutique PR agency, which has been sharing the stories of tech startups in media outlets across 12 countries since 2013. Since then, the agency has remained one of the leading industry players for PR in tech, building the bridge between Ukrainian companies and the rest of the world. Viroslava, it is so inspiring to speak to you today, and I wanted to understand a bit more about you and how you spend your days. So why don't you start us off with what's a typical work day in your life?
Thank you. I think that my work day typically is the same as others public relations specialists. I wake up, but I'm trying not to check my phone immediately and to do some sports routine, to do something just for myself, maybe to read some book, maximum 30 minutes. And then I dive in my working routine. I have a lot of calls, a lot of communication with my team, with my clients. I decided to do something interesting for myself to keep my mental health and to keep me on track. I usually have, for example, during the day, some time for education, for sports activity, or just for example, for my friends in the middle of the day. And it helps me to stay really focused on my work and not to be, like on this routine when you just work, 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 and you can't create anything anymore.
Do you know, I love that. I think people should do that more often, where they take a break in the middle of their day for something fun and energizing, because so many of us just do the full day. But actually, what happens, our productivity just slumps because after sort of, I don't know, lunchtime, we're still working, but actually the productivity is so low. So it makes absolute sense to just bring in a bit of an energizer a session, and then you can continue to sort of work at that higher productivity level. So definitely very much working smart. Now, news, we are surrounded by news, and you know how difficult it must also be to be surrounded by news consuming about what is happening in Ukraine. And what I wanted to understand is, what's your relationship like with news? How do you get information? Do you also glean information from social media channels? If so, which ones? What's your relationship day to day with staying on top of news that you need for your business, for your own curiosity, but without it consuming you, and also safeguarding your sort of mental health, because news does have a tendency to be on the negative side.
Yes, very good question. I has been thinking a lot about how we can consume news and not to be, like addicted to them. When we are all the time scrolling the news, trying to find something new, and because of my work, of course, I'm all the time trying to find something new, for example, for my clients where we can comment or just scrolling the news to understanding what's going on in the world. But right now, for example, I read only newsletters that I've subscribed in the morning. For example, Morning Brew or something like this, something that covers tech world. And then because of my work and because of my tea, I know everything what's going on in the world. I don't need really to, to check the news because it's my work. I already know too much, and maybe right now I'm even trying to, not to read a lot of news and just stay focused on what I need to do during the day.
Now, you've worked in media relations for more than 11 years. I wanted to understand a little bit about the inspiration that you had in order to launch Slova Tech PR. And you were quite young when you launched it as well. And some people say that actually, when you're younger and you launch something, it's quite a good thing in the sense that you don't always have the experience of failure and the fear of failure. And I remember I set up my first business when I was 20 years old, and I didn't even think I had competitors, and I was quite naive in doing it. And I think if I set up the business much later, I'd be much more cautious. But sometimes being cautious is not as valuable as one would think, and sometimes just to be gung ho and just learning on the way, can be quite good. So I'd love to know a little bit about your journey in setting up Slova Tech.
I remember myself quite well when I launched the agency. I was 22. I was still studying in the university, and it was not my first agency. I had before the agency for public relation for fashion projects. Also, I had copywriting agency, so I had two fellows, and and then I had public relations for tech, and it started. It started really like it was just for me. It seems like accidentally, but it's not like this because it's everything all the time about the community, and all of my friends they were really active there. I remember that my best friend, she also the time she started her business, so it was quite modern to try to do something by our own. And I had a lot of friends in tech, and the tech industry in Ukraine, it was blooming, really blooming in the time. Like a lot of startups, for example, Grammarly, Reface, they're from Ukraine, like PetCube. So it was just the industry where I had the huge desire to be, and of course it was. Why I say is that it was accidentally, just because I started as a copywriting agency, and then one of my client, he asked me if we could support him and sharing the news in the media. So which I tried. It was success. I understand from the first try how it works in the tech industry, because before I worked with fashion and still my education public relations, so it was not from nothing, so I knew what I did. And after, it was just a magic. He started introduce me to other people in the community, and after 1 year I had a lot of clients, main startups in Ukraine, and it was quite fast because, when you work with the startups, the main thing is expanding to other markets. So the second year, and I already tried and started to launch campaigns in Poland, in US, in UK. So the career was really like starting fast, but so inspiring.
I wanted to ask, I've been lucky enough to travel to Ukraine over the years and always just incredibly inspired. And I remember a very strong fashion scene, actually, when I used to go to Kiev in particular. But I wanted to ask, what is it about Ukraine, in your opinion, that has really resulted in this incredible ecosystem of tech entrepreneurs? Like, Grammarly, I use it every day. And there are these, there are these incredible softwares that have come out of Ukraine, and not just softwares, but B2B tech. What is it distinctively about Ukraine, in your opinion, that has really birthed these incredible, innovative tech companies?
So I think this has really helped us to build the tech ecosystem really fast and successful. The other thing, of course, because of a lot of crises, we are really flexible, first of all, and really, like, all of us, we're crisis managers, so we try to do our work with a good quality, fast, to just to try all our hypotheses and to go to the market. And I think it's also something like about our mentality, just to make things done.
Yeah, I definitely witnessed the resilience and the determination when I was visiting Ukraine for a number of years. Now, I wanted to understand a little bit about the challenges of running Slova Tech PR after the invasion of Ukraine. So many people run their PR businesses and they have so many challenges: cash flow, attraction and retention of staff, attraction and retention of clients. But you had all the normal challenges of running a PR firm, but amongst the backdrop of a country that you love, that you know, um, and that you represent a lot of the entrepreneurs who have built their businesses from Ukraine. How did that impact you? Because we're very much aware of the humanitarian stories that we read in the news, but from a business perspective, for an entrepreneur such as yourself, how what challenges did you face, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of challenges. Maybe the first thing that is not so easy for me right now to go and back to Ukraine, and my team partially. They are in Ukraine, but I live in France, and right now the team working from all the world. So the first challenge is how to organize this work of the international team, working with international clients, with the team all around the world. And it's quite challenging because before I worked with my team in one office, have like the same routine, working routine, coffee in the morning, and right now everything is online. But of course, because of the COVID time, right now we already had these habits. But this is quite complicated. But I think that finally it's not a huge problem when everything is just well organized. Also, but for example, when we speak about public relations specialists, it's one of the most stressful professions in the world. So mental health, like my mental health of my team is the biggest value for me. So this is the hugest challenge for me. How you can manage the team when you can't when you can see them, physically. So you need to develop your empathy, like to feel through the through the screens. It's quite complicated. And maybe, no, of course, if we're speaking about the clients, when I was still in Kiev, and before the war, the agency, like, we helped a lot of international companies, like Glova, for example, or some others, Fiverr, to come into Ukraine and to build there in Ukraine. Of course, right now, like, there are not a lot of international companies coming in Ukraine, so we are helping more Ukrainian companies expand their connections to Europe, US, and the UK. But also recently, for the last maybe 5 years, we have been working more and more with international companies. So right now it's like 50-50. And it also gives this, perspective of working with the like local and international companies around the world. So it's quite interesting from public relation perspective.
When you are working with tech entrepreneurs from Ukraine and they're looking to expand internationally, And you mentioned Europe, UK, US. Is there any sort of preference that they have in terms of their first expansion, the first country they want to go to? Because a lot of people talk in tech that the US has got deep pockets for investment, and a lot of tech startups, their target audience isn't always necessarily the users, it's sometimes the investors that are as important as the consumers. So, from your perspective, which countries do they have most of an appetite to go into if they are in Ukraine and they are thinking of choosing one market to head into initially?
I think it's the same like for all the international companies. You need to understand where are your investors, where are your partners, consumers. So, for example, if to speak about France, because I live in France, right now France is like the capital of artificial intelligence world, and a lot of companies who are developing artificial intelligence, they're entering a French market and establish their companies in Paris. And if we speak about US, of course, it's more about the companies who needs to develop their connections with the investors, because of course all the best VC are in US, and the more dynamic world in venture, of course, still in US. And I can see also that we have a lot of launches in Germany, in DACH, and recently, by the way, it's a lot of interest around Nordics countries, especially if we're speaking about cybersecurity, defense technologies, disinformation, and it's quite interesting as well. So all the countries they have, also like some other perspective because of their history, for example.
That's really fascinating. Now, you're working with a team across who are operating in multiple different countries. Your clients are from different countries. What advice do you give people on how to navigate different cultures? Because you left Ukraine, are living in France, have got team members in lots of different countries, clients in different countries. What tips do you have in navigating culture?
Oh, it's the funniest question, to tell the truth. When I moved from Ukraine to France, it was before. It was before the full-scale war. I moved to France because I'm married with a French. So I thought that it could be that it might be not so much complicated to live between the countries and to adapt to the new culture, understand their local jokes, context, and to learn another language. After more than 3 or 4 years, I understood that that it's not really so easy. It's really complicated. You need to choose this life because it's full of challenges. And I read somewhere that for for adaptation, for any adaptation in your country, to understand the local context, you need 7 years to live in this country. So 4 years almost for example, learning the language, and 3 other years just to understand why the things are like this. So for me, the main advice is really respect other culture, and to try to understand and to learn also the history of Europe or these countries where you are, or US. I mean, to understand the local context in the main important. And if we're speaking about also managing the team or speaking with the clients around the world, it's also about the understanding the culture and respect, and just trying to understand why this person in front of the screen is like this, kind of communicating in this way, because some people are more direct, for example, like Americans, or for example, like French, they're really, when they try the conversation, this small talk is quite long. and they really want to know how you are, and it's all the time like Sava, 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 Sava. It could be quite long, and you need to be polite, and he will go like straight to the point. It will be rude. So I think that really when we work with international communication, studying the culture and cultural context, history, communication rules is the most important thing. We can't come just with ourselves and to say, okay, now we need to communicate.
Yeah, I think it's really true. I've learned a lot from working across cultures. I find it fascinating, but I agree. The first rule is to listen, and also just develop that empathy, so you really understand the cultural context that they're operating in. Now, you have thrived as a woman in tech, but at the same time, you've understood that there is a lack of representation of women, which led you to co-found W Tech. Can you tell us a little bit about why you decided to co-found W Tech? It sounds like a phenomenal success with over 7,000 members in 31 countries. Tell us a little bit about it.
We found it double check. It was, I think, almost 6 or 7 years ago. And the main idea it was to help women to navigate in their career and to help them to help them to find their place in tech industry, because there are several problems. The first is not enough female founders. Then board representation is not enough, and also a lot of women just stop the career in tech after 35. So the main thing is that we don't have supportive community, and also I think we don't have enough role models. And right now, also as a public relations specialist, I have been working a lot with the female founders, and I can see that if to compare male founder and female founder, male founder, I want to build my personal brand. I'm good enough. Let's go. And if you speak about the female founder, like usually I have this conversation like I need to push my client to speak about their story. So like not enough self-esteem, or this feeling like I still need to do something more. So I feel like my also personal mission right now is just to push female founders to become these role models to help also the young entrepreneurs, young founders to understand that someone has already done the same path, and they can rely on their stories or success. And I think that this really can help if we can read more stories about founders and their success, and if we can create this supportive community. And right now, for example, if to speak about the double tech, our community is more than in 30 countries, and we have more than 100 partners who are our volunteers around the world. And I can say that these 100 female founders who are our partners, they became role models for all this community. So it's like one of our mission to push, to show them that there really can be these little stars in the sky.
I love that. If you can see it, you can be it. I find it really interesting what you say about the women that you come across who are reticent in developing a public profile, and then it becomes a sort of self-perpetuating thing where then there's a lack of visibility of role models. I wanted to ask you about imposter syndrome. Do you find that when you work with female founders, that this sort of reticence they have to take on a public persona, and in their mind they feel that they need to do more in order to give them the license to sort of to talk about themselves as a thought leader, is that across the board, across all cultures, or do you see it pronounced in particular cultures?
According to all the reports, I think we are all the same, really. And but for sure, women has more problems with self-esteem than men. And for example, Mia has a huge imposter syndrome as well. I don't know how much I need to do just to stay on my chair and to say, finally, I did enough, and I can chill and I can relax. You know, all the time in the morning I wake up like and saying, okay, how far we need to go now just to reach the place where I want to be. And for example, Farzana, about you, do you have this imposter syndrome?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my God, yeah, all the time, and and I'm constantly find myself talking myself out of opportunities. Somebody approaches me for something, I'm like, "You sure you want to hire me? Are you sure? I mean, what about the competitor? I mean, I'm sure they'll do a much better job." And then I have to literally just give myself a slap when I'm behind closed doors because I do find myself self sabotaging, talking myself out of opportunities, hyping up my competitors, turning business away. And I sort of think to myself, my God, there's something so deep at the root of my psyche that I'm just grateful that after so many years of running a business, I am at least aware of these subconscious drivers that are sabotaging. And and I've been sort of looking into how to really work so that I can minimize it. And and it's led me down routes like cognitive behavioral therapy, confidence coaching. It's really, really interesting. And I sort of, it annoys me that I do it, but I still do it, even after being aware of it for many years. Now, what tips do you have for those people who are listening? Because there's also male friends of mine who actually have imposter syndrome, that I've talked to as well. And they are sometimes at the top of their game. And they say, and one of my friends recently said, actually, if you have imposter syndrome, it's probably quite a good thing because it means that you're always trying to be on your A game. You're trying to improve. You feel that you're never enough. So you're constantly looking to be better. And that probably is a healthy sign. But I'm not so sure. I wanted to ask you, what do you do to combat your imposter syndrome, that sort of feeling of, am I good enough?
I'm not combating it anymore. As you said, it's like a driver. So if I'm just trying to do the same thing that you told before, I'm trying to look at myself like it's not me. Like for example, my friend, and trying to be just objective about the things. Is this person is good enough, for example, for this client, for this job, or for this? Like what I can say about this, not me, about this person, if it will be just my friend. And it really helps me, just for example, just before this podcast, and I was like, oh my God, about what I could speak. I mean, like, I'm not better than anyone. And then, like, I was just trying, like, okay, let's speak if I am my own friend. And when I think this is the main thing, is just to be also sometimes kind and polite to ourselves. Because all the people with imposter syndrome, what we are doing, we always become a little bit aggressive to ourselves, like, you can do it because you need to be better. But if we could be a little bit kinder, it's better also.
I agree. The kindness that we show our friends and our loved ones, if we can just do that to ourselves, I think that would be a game changer. Now, you've also co-founded the Ukrainian PR Army, a not-for-profit organization that supports communications during the Ukrainian crisis. Tell us a little bit about why you set it up, how it's developed, and what your vision for it is.
Public Relation Army, it was founded in the first day of the full-scale war, and we could say that it's coalition between public relations specialist professionals around Ukraine, and not only. If you speak about my part, I remember when the full-scale war started, I just started to write all the letters, speeches to all my journalists, my media base, sharing the news. But of course, because I have a lot of partners, public relation partners, I asked them to support us and to also to share the press releases announcement around the world. And this is how I also met Francis from PRCA. And he, the time I'm so much grateful for him. He helped us a lot. He shared a lot of his connections, advices. He gave us huge support. And after I gathered all of my media contacts and everything, I joined Ukrainian Public Relation Army, and we try to just to spread the truth, the news around the world. But the main mission is also to give the voice to Ukrainian speakers, because it's how this information works. When just not the right people speak on behalf of the country to the media. So, for example, it's possible to find the website in Ukrainian Public Relation Army, where you can just check the speakers if they're if the speakers has if the speaker has a right reputation to speak with the media. And also you can find all the speakers in this website, for example, for any topic. So I believe that all of such associations that that has been created, like, naturally, it's something that give this, this driving power to change the world for real.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the venture capital world, because a lot of the tech startups, they really need more than anything. They need investment. And I wanted to understand a little bit about your role as a mentor at Textile Sustainability Paris. So when you mentor them, is your focus on investment communications, leadership communications, sort of route to market? What sort of what sort of shape is your sort of mentoring um, for these startups that you work with?
I think it's a mix of all the instruments that you mentioned. The main thing when I start to speak with the founder, I try to understand if the public relation is the right thing for them right now, because public relation is really consuming, time consuming. And if we speak about the founders, about the small teams, I need to be sure that they can really invest themselves. Firstly, for the founders, it's very important to build also personal brands, because if we speak about investment public relations, investors usually choose not only startup and their idea, but they choose a founder, and the founder might be charismatic with a strong story, with a strong education and a good career. So it's also very important to tell the story of the founder to the audience. So if you speak about investment public relations, it usually includes personal brand. And when I mentor, my first and main thing is just encourage my mentee to understand that all of them, they already have the story to tell. There is no magic pill, like it's not so much complicated to invent the news announcement, informational hook for the journalists. You just need to be yourself and to try to find the story inside you.
I think that's a very, very good advice because so many tech startups that I've come across, they don't always understand how powerful leadership communications can be, and particularly if they don't have a track record in order to win over investors. And if the company is fairly new, because what the investors really are doing are investing in them, in the actual founders. And that's why the leadership comms is so critical for startups whose success really is determined by their ability to win investment. Now, you're very fortunate you're working in the tech space. And at the same time, as a PR person, you're witnessing this huge disruption happening to our industry because of these incredible sort of technological innovations and AI. Do you feel that you're quite fortunate already working in tech, that you have a much more sort of increased appetite to consume these new innovations coming into our PR industry, that gives you a slight sort of early adopter status? And how do you feel about all of these? There's all of these incredible developments happening. There's a mixture of fear. There's a mixture in the industry of a sense of opportunity. You've got this wonderful vantage point already anchored in tech and being a world leading PR. I'd love to just understand from your perspective, how do you view all of these changes coming through our industry?
I'm fascinated. To tell the truth, I'm so happy that I live during this time, being public relations specialist who can who can just to organize all the work with the artificial intelligence, with all of these technologies. You know, we can be so much more effective with the right instruments. Of course, it's also challenging. It could be a lot of crises if we are not, if we will not use all these instruments correct. But if to try to to adapt all of our routine to the new technologies, I think it's just amazing. For example, I'm just surprised how many right now, how many new projects in the public relation field in tech. A lot of companies, a lot of startups in crisis communication, crisis simulations, also everything about disinformation, checking the news. I mean, without all of these instruments in this informational era, it could be quite complicated for us to navigate.
Do you foresee by using a number of these tools, you'll reduce your reliance upon junior staff?
No, yes and no. It's a very good question. I mean, I use all these artificial intelligence tools, like of course, like my assistants, like my creative partners with whom I can sometimes validate some idea and everything. But still, I don't think like artificial intelligence like our co-pilots as for now. So I don't think that it's really important to reduce the team. Junior team, maybe you're right. For example, before I had assistant, now now I don't have assistant anymore, so I can do everything just with all of my tools.
What are your favorite tools that you enjoy using?
I use a lot Claude. It's very good for creative conversations, campaigns, reporting, and everything.
Now, we've come to the end of our conversation, so I've got a few questions that I wanted to ask you, part of our quick fire round. Now, first of all, who is the communicator that you admire the most, be it past or present?
If to speak about the modern world, I had the chance to speak with Stuart Bruce, by the way, who's really speaks a lot about artificial intelligence, and admire him a lot. Also, Shayoni Lin, who was my mentor, I love her so much. She's just incredible specialist, and also all of her work about misinformation, I found it fascinating as well.
I must say, Stuart and Shione are two of my favorite people, and I love following them on social media. I think they are absolutely brilliant and insightful.
Yeah, but I also would like to mention some Ukrainian colleagues who are doing the great work. For example, Sergei Bidenko, who is my close friend, or Yulia Petrik, who is also co-founder of Ukrainian Public Relation Army. And I think this cooperation between their public relations specialist professionals makes us really stronger.
Thank you. I love that. Now, thinkers, we'd like to know what thinkers have had the most impact on you. So, thinkers in terms of authors, podcast hosts, poets, philosophers.
Yeah, once I read that to become genius, you need to read, to consume the information not from your area of professionalism. For example, if you work in public relation, read about the art or about math, etc. So it will be not direct answer to a question, but my favorite thinkers is the artists. I really like everything about, for example, Van Gogh, Monet, all the modernists, postmodernists, and I can just stay forever in Museum d'Orsay in Paris, just watching all these paintings and trying to understand what the artist wanted to say us from the time. And I think it really helps also to develop the creative nature of our public relations spirits.
I love that. I love that. Now, we move to career advice for your younger self. If you look back when you were at university, what career advice would you give to you as a student 11, 12 years ago?
Yeah, I think else speak about me, to take care about myself, to sleep more, and from time to time to enjoy life besides the work.
Very, very sage advice. Now, some of that is probably covered in my next question, which is how do you stay sane? You alluded earlier saying you break up your day with something that's energizing, sleeping well, I think is key. What other mental health and well-being hacks can you share with our audience?
I built all of my working routine around my personal things. For example, I have as all of us, I have my working calendar, and in my calendar are a lot of time slots that are just mine. For example, for education, as I said before, for my French, for some sports activities, and nothing can change it. So I built all of my working meetings around my personal calendar. This is really helps me stay sane and also to have the progress in my personal development.
That's brilliant. So it's really um, living and working and the interplay. I think it's a great approach to take. And it ironically gives you a lot more energy to be much more productive with your work. So it actually impacts very positively on the work that you do. Now, if listeners would like to learn more about you or reach out, what's the best way for them to do so?
You can find me in LinkedIn by my name, Viroslava Novosylna. If you want to check my website, it's www.slova.agency. Instagram, Viro Verero.
Brilliant, brilliant. Now, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your incredible journey and your career, and not only do you run this incredible tech PR firm, but you're mentoring and you've co-founded these incredible not-for-profit platforms that are really making a difference to women in tech, as well as comms for Ukraine. So really, really fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure to speak with you today.
So, thank you also to our audience for listening. You'll find this episode on the PRCA's YouTube channel and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts alongside other episodes. If you like what you hear, please do share so we can grow our community. If you have any feedback or topics you'd like us to cover, please do contact our team. We have the wonderful David Olajide, who is our producer. We publish interviews every 2 weeks, so do stay tuned as we have some more inspiring stories in the pipeline.